got poor connection. I should get this plugged in because I do this time and time again. Hello to the business of property. I hope everyone's had a fantastic week so far. I know it's only Tuesday, but a really, really good day. Catching up with some. Hi, Tony. Let's invite Tony onto the stage. Tony, where are you? There you go. Bring Tony on the camera. I have this thing where my earplugs take a while to hook up. So let me see if I get them to cooperate. Hi, Tony. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
How are
My
you?
earphones are to have a bit of a lag. I'm fantastic. Thank you. It seems like it was like a week ago we spoke, and so it seems so long ago.
It's been over actually. So because I wasn't here last Tuesday, so we had a special fill-in guest.
Exactly. That's right.
I know.
You had the imposter Tony number 2.
The wannabe. We had the wannabe.
Yeah. You should have shared a bit of the toupee, and it would have been quite convincing.
My toupee.
Yeah. No, that's the real deal.
That's real. That's real. That's locked in there, Cheryl. That's not going anywhere.
Awesome.
It's going grey. That's
Excellent.
what it's doing.
Right. There's good hair dye that
Can't hear you. Talk.
we're having connection.
Talk.
Keep going until it decides to connect.
You got it. Go for it.
And
okay, what's tonight's topic? Let's go.
We're talking about challenges, whether it's, how do we deal with challenges that pop up. Hi, Guy. How you doing? That pop up personally and also professionally. How we are able to deal with those. And we come up with these constantly. In property development, it's, as you know, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. Don't we all know that? And how we are able to deal with both situations and people. As we'll often come across, and very, very much so, we talked about DISC profiles, how to deal with, challenging people as well. And it's, is that necessarily something that you need to change, or, we've all had challenging situations come up at some point. I think it's important that we all build a level of resilience around how to deal with that.
Sure.
Be able to either work with it, work through it, and then overcome it and move forward. I think those are really critical points. I caught up with David Ung from Community Homes. I don't know, have you met David personally?
I have. Yeah, I have. Yep.
Actually, he did say, how you going, Chris? And he's an amazing man. I was very, very honored to meet him today. The great things that he's doing, but he's had some adversities in life. A bit of a story on his website, and he's had to go through a lot as well. And I constantly am inspired by people who are able to get through all forms of it, adversity, whether personal or in a project or what else, to be able to come up the other side.
Gotcha.
And I know. So I think that I really like to be able to sort of open up a bit of a discussion around that.
Well, let's do that. I love having discussion. Now, if this was Luke Moroney, I'd be saying, Luke, I've got a thought on this. So Luke will know it's a bit of an in-joke, but as you know, Luke and I do something on a Sunday morning, the Sunday Mindset session. I quite often say, I've got a thought on that. I don't need to, it's just him and I chatting, but nonetheless. So my first thought on this is that accept that there are going to be an enormous number of challenges, whatever you do. So before you even start something, You need to accept that it's not going to be easy. Accept if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Accept there's going to be obstacles. Accept there's going to be challenges. I think a lot of it is you've got to be able to work your way through that. If you are fearful of making a mistake, then you're in the wrong game. And that could be in property, in business, in life, relationships, health and wellness, etc. If you're fearful of making mistakes, then that's why you're not able to take action. So accept the fact that you're going to make an enormous number of mistakes. And, you know, we normally do this for about an hour. So unfortunately, I haven't got enough time to go through all the mistakes that I've made and continue to make. But they're real, right? And so that's the first thing I'd say to everyone is accept that it's not going to go perfectly. Accept that it's going to be challenging. I saw a post recently on, it had two pictures of a starting point and an end point, and it said, does success look like this, which was a straight line, or does success look like this with a squiggly line and backwards and up and down and sideways and all that sort of stuff, and eventually get to where you want to get to? And that's what success looks like. So it's not going to be in a straight line. It's not going to go to script. There are going to be obstacles. There are going to be distractions. There's going to be temptations. There's going to be a whole range of things that come across and try and throw you off course. But here's what I believe they are. I believe that they're tests. I believe that the universe, and I'm going to get into the universe early, but I believe that the universe is sending out a few tests, and they're seeing how serious you are. And they're seeing if you can pass each test. And if you can't pass the first test, well, then you're not worthy of moving on to the next one, right? So you need to be able to pass through the tests, and eventually then, you know, the gates open up for you and you're off and racing. So that's the first thing, is around accepting the fact that there's going to be an enormous number of things that happen. When there's something specific that happens, accept that that's happened, right? So far too many people dwell in the past, right? But the reality is that whatever that thing is that's happened, it's happened. So for example, for me, I've got a couple of things going on at the moment. So I've got my car's still getting fixed 3 weeks after going in. And today I went up to my property and I've found that we've got a huge variation that we hadn't budgeted. So these are things that I've got to now factor in. That happened. So I can sit here and wallow in my own self-pity and cry about it and get upset and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't work. That's not how I move forward. So I accept that things have happened. I'm not going to dwell on the past because it's happened. What I then do is I then focus on, well, how do I fix this, right? So I accept that mistakes are going to happen at the highest level, at the macro level. When something does happen, I accept that that's happened. It doesn't mean that I like it. It doesn't mean that I'm happy about it. Like, let's not BS ourselves. I mean, if something goes wrong, it goes wrong. I think it's unrealistic if you go, oh well, that's certainly not how I operate. I mean, I'm not happy about the fact that I've got a huge variation that I'm staring down at the moment, but it's real. And so my next thing is, well, how am I going to respond to that? So I could react, throw all my toys out of the cot, get upset, get cranky, get fired up, whinge, whine, complain, get frustrated, disappointed, whatever it might be. Or I could say, well, how do I respond to this? And in particular, how do I solve it? And what do I need to do to solve this situation, whatever the situation might be, because I need to fix it. Because the longer that I sit here and wish for a different outcome, the longer it is that I'm not solving the actual problem that potentially is getting worse. So potentially, if you let things go and you put your head in the sand, I heard someone say recently it's the emu effect, the ostrich effect, when you put your head in the sand and then you hope like crazy that things are different. They won't be, right? So if it's happened, accept that it's happened, and then what are you going to do about it? How are you going to solve it?
Yeah, that and that idea of basically shifting your focus from this is all a bad thing that's happened and moving to solution mode, that can be quite a difficult process as well, because often, there are a lot of emotions that that might go with the problem itself. What are effective ways? And I talk about it even almost like a migraine. Like the migraine. Imagine if you've got a migraine and it's in your head, and I say this because my husband's got a migraine and he's passed it on to me because it's a pain in the neck for me. But I said to him, if we focus on, are you able to maybe think of nice things like walking on the beach and things like that? Probably has worked too well. But similar to a migraine, where if you keep focusing on the migraine, it's still going to constantly be there. But if you're distracted by something else, you don't think of the migraine, and then your focus shifts
Well, what you think
to
about manifests. So what you think about manifests. So anything that you think about, the longer you think about it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you sit there and focus on the problem, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And even though the problem might start off that big, but the more that you think about it, the more that you focus your efforts on it and your energy on it, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if it's something negative, then in a lot of cases, it can become all too overwhelming. It can become this big. It can paralyze you. It can prevent you from moving forward. So you asked about what's a nice simple tip or trick. I don't go and imagine skipping down the beach and whistling Dixie and all that sort of stuff. I don't do any of that. What I do is I simply ask myself the question, how is this serving me? So dwelling on the past, dwelling on the problem, how is that serving me? So we all can ask that really simple question. How is this serving me? If you're sitting there focusing on a problem, focusing on, woe is me, this has gone wrong, how is this serving me? And I'll guarantee you the answer is it's not. So whether you have a migraine, whether you have a property problem, whether you have a business problem, a relationship problem, a health and wellness problem, whatever the problem might be, how is this serving you? And so that's the first thing, because again, what you focus on expands. You want to get your focus and your attention and your effort onto the solution. Because when you focus on the solution, you're looking in a forward direction, right? When you focus on the problem, you're looking in a backward direction because it's happened. Does that make sense? So the thing has happened, the event has happened, right? So sitting there, dwelling on it, oh, woe is me, how is this serving me? No, it's not. Right, I got to fix this. I got to fix this. Now, here's the thing. For me, I've been doing this for a number of years, right? For someone new starting out, I get it. I get all the emotion that's wrapped up in all of this stuff. It's not easy. One of the things I've built through my property development journey is a whole lot of resilience. I'm far more resilient today than I was 3 years ago when I started my journey. And that's through, you've got to get in the trenches. Right, you've got to roll your sleeves up and you've got to experience it. And I don't think any amount of theory or YouTube watching or podcast listening is going to prepare you for when you get in the trench. The only way you build a muscle is by going to the gym and lifting a weight, right? And so you've got to get into the trench and experience it. And it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to hurt and it's going to be frustrating and all these types of things, but you have to go through that to come out the other side and go, you know what, I can handle this. I can handle it.
Yes. Yeah. I do think, I like to be able to, I've got my earphones there. They're logged in now. So does that sound clearer, Tony?
Yeah, you sound crystal clear.
Okay, excellent. So I know when I've personally had challenging situations, and a song that often comes up to me is the Bob Marley song, don't worry about a thing, and that for me is one way to be able to tune my mind to go that every little thing is going to be all right, and simple. I said if every individual person can find a tool that helps them something, whatever it might be, whether it is just breathing, meditating, going for a walk or a skip along the beach. It doesn't necessarily, solve the problem at the time, but from a mindset point of view, it helps you get over that. It'll be all right. It seems overwhelming at the time right now, but and then think about, all right, well, who can I talk to? Who can I reach out to? And I talk very much about this. I put up a post earlier, maybe it was last week, about finding your tribe. Finding your tribe, and it's so important to have people that that when you're going through shitty situations, that you can reach out to, be honest with, and go, this is what I'm going through at the moment. You know what? I just need someone to talk to.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I just need someone to listen. Even that, like even feeling like you've got someone you can just offload on, and someone doesn't even say anything, but they just simply receive it. They take all of that. That can be incredibly for you just to get it off your chest, the old saying, right? So the other thing to consider is that storm. What does Les Brown say? He says storms haven't come to stay; they've come to pass, and so that is going to be here forever. So even though you might be in the eye of the storm right at this moment, storms don't last forever, and eventually they blow away and are followed by blue skies. And so you've always got to, and again, it comes back to mindset, right? I mean, it's what I practice personally, and I obviously preach it as well. Is that you've got to have the right mindset. But for me, when something comes up, you have to deal with that. I love your ideas there, Cheryl, of whether it be exercise or whatever it is to release that stress, release that pressure. I think that's a great one. One of the things is that sometimes people might have a drink or two, and I don't drink, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But the only thing I'd say is that sometimes with drinking, that the problem's still there in the morning after. So that's something else to be aware of, is that yes, you might have temporarily solved your problem, but the problem's still going to be there the next morning. So again, I'm not here on an anti-alcohol crusade. I'm happy for people to choose whatever they want, but I'm also have seen that as well, where people have been under stress and pressure, hit substances, and surprisingly, those problems are still there the next morning.
Yeah, and possibly with a headache as well.
It's an additional problem. So look, for me, it's about how do I solve this? Right? And sometimes things can't be solved quickly, but at least if you can feel like you're making some progress, at least you can feel like you're getting closer to a solution. You're going to start to feel better because you're inching your way closer to where you need to get to. Again, how does it serve you? By looking back, fixating on that problem and knowing full well that the way your mind works is what you focus on, it expands. And when you focus on bad things, they become really bad things. And so why don't you focus on good things and positive things, because they can become really big good things and positive things.
Sure. So on that same sort of theme, I mean, you've got circumstances and situations that turn bad. How do we then deal with people? And we're talking about relationships. You're always going to come across people that are, to you, they might be difficult. They might be in your way. They might just be just negative, bad vibes, negative people. How do you work with them? We talked about disc profiling at the weekend.
We did, we did.
And which I really, really enjoyed. And every time I meet people now, I'm like, are you a disc? What are you?
Yeah, what are you? Are you a D? You're an I?
D,
I get it.
And I'm like, D, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But it's there is a certain skill around that in itself, because it's about relationship building, and also I'm a big believer in not necessarily burning your bridges, but working with people. However, if you come across someone that is for some reason being extremely negative towards things, is throwing challenges. Hi Daniel, how are you doing? Thanks for tuning in, and actually everyone else, hello.
Say hello to them, Cheryl.
Good day, Tony. Sorry,
you can see the who's commented, so say good day to them.
Can't. Good day.
No, I can't. I can't see them.
No one's mentioned. Guy, how you doing? Chris, Corn, Rosie. Oh, welcome, Rosie. Rosie and I used to work together for a while. Ian, how are you? Sam, so that Wall, how you doing? And Daniel's the only one that sort of said hello. Everyone's sort of a bit shy.
Well, we want to get them to speak up. The other thing we should say is we want people to, as much as I love having a chat to you and interacting with you, we want people to ask us plenty of questions as well. And what is it that's something that someone who's watching is going through, in particular around the topic of, when the happens, what is it? How can we help you with your particular solution, your particular situation? Love the specifics, and we'd love to help you get some solutions right here on a Tuesday night, because you wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Sorry, Cheryl, you were asking around people. So the first thing is with people is recognise that there's only one person that you can control. You're going to plug me in. You recognise that there's only one person that you can control. That's you, right? And so here's the thing. You can try to influence. You can try to persuade. You can try to negotiate, or you can negotiate, persuade, influence, but you can't control another person. So you have to recognize that first and foremost, right? The other thing then is if someone isn't serving you, and I'm using this example again in around people, but if someone is being incredibly negative to you, you can call them on that. You can say that, hey, what you're doing, I don't appreciate it. It's not helpful. Now, that takes courage to do that, but I would strongly urge you to dig deep and find something within. But the other thing is that if someone's going to continually be negative to you and bring you down, then you need to really ask yourself, why is it that you're continuing to hang around them? And I understand that it could be difficult, because quite often the people who are going to be negative to you and bring you down are those that love you. They are your partners. They are your family. They are parents. They are your siblings. They are close friends. The people that are in your inner circle are typically going to be the ones who are going to say a whole lot of negative stuff to you. They're going to give you a whole lot of limiting beliefs. You're too old, you're too young, you're not good enough, leave it for somebody else. Oh, that's a bad mistake. Property development is risky, you're going to lose money. Money's the root of all evil. All these things. They love you. And why are they doing it? Because they want to keep you safe and they want to protect you, right? And so the challenge that we all have is, do we listen to those people, or do we go, you know what, I'm forging my own path, and I have a saying which is, may your shoes follow your heart, right? And so that is that, and this is not easy. So again, I say it because I've come through the other side of it, but these are not easy conversations. It's not easy when you have some buddies that you used to do a whole lot of stuff with and you spent plenty of time with, and then slowly over time, you feel yourself drifting away because you're heading in a different direction, because those buddies that you had, they were really good buddies at that point in time in your life, but you're wanting to change and grow and do different things, and they're wanting to still stay stuck in that past and do those old things. And again, if it's not serving you, you've really got to have those, either A, have the difficult conversations, or B, and I would encourage you to do that, or B, you slowly but surely spend a little less time with them, and spend more time then with the people who are serving you. So find yourself a community like this one, like the Property Development Australia Facebook group. Find yourself a community like Property Development Network, or other, you might be into property investing or real estate, or it might be small business, whatever it is. Get onto meetup.com and find yourself a community that is a like-minded community that's going to help you be the best version of you and lift you up.
Correct. David and I specifically talked about tribes, and he's growing his tribe, and I'm a huge believer in finding the people that are your people, are the people who understand, have those sort of similar sort of values, that level of, the same sort of energy, and personally, I've not long ago was in a situation where there was a lot of sort of negative energy, and I felt it was really draining, and I didn't really realize it so much when I was in it, but I was constantly in that space of, I actually don't want to do this, or actually not really comfortable being around certain people or situations, and I went, hey, this isn't me. We said that level of self-awareness when you're not being yourself and being sort of and being your authentic true self, and
listen
pointing
to your heart.
at your,
Listen to your heart.
right,
Listen to your gut. So whether it be it was listen to. No, it wasn't my my pectoral. It wasn't. It was more listen to your heart, right? So listen to your heart. Listen to your gut, your intuition, whatever it is that you listen to. Right, so you're saying there that when you were in it and you didn't quite understand it, listen to the things that are going on in your mind. Listen to your heart. Listen to your stress levels. If your stress levels are starting to increase, like there's signs, right? So the body is amazing, right? But it gives us all these signs that something's just a little bit off. And you want to listen to that, and you want to try and explore that. And is it just a little bit off? Because you know what? I'm really resenting spending time in the company of these people. I used to enjoy it, but you know what? I'm not getting the same level of benefit out of that anymore. And you have the choice. You have the choice to say, hey guys, this is not serving me. These types of conversations aren't helpful for me, blah, blah, or yeah, that, and, or, slowly but surely, find alternate people that you can spend time with that are going to lift you up. So yeah, sorry, it certainly wasn't a little caressing of my pectoral, Cheryl. It was about the heart. And again, go back to the saying that I said, which is, may your shoes always follow your heart, and that comes down to another way that you could interpret that, or you could explain that, is do what you love. Do what you love. Spend time with those people that you love spending time with, that you get a great deal of pleasure out of, that you feel invigorated by, that make you want to be the best, or help you be the best version of yourself. Absolutely, right. So go back. So we've known each other probably 3 or 4 months, and our friendship and relationship has grown, and the viewers have seen that flourish because we've done it publicly. But it's about. But again, it's about, we came into each other's lives because we're on a similar pathway, right? And so a mutual friend of ours said, hey, you guys should connect because you have similar values, you have similar, beliefs, you have a similar message that you want to share to the world. And obviously through mine and your conversations privately, we thought, hey, let's do this thing publicly, and let's see if we can help people move forward in their property development journey. And the wonderful thing that we're doing, and I'll come from a very biased point of view here, but the wonderful thing that we're doing is we're also giving people a whole lot of skills that apply beyond property development, because to me, property development is but a small part of our life. And if we can apply some skills and give you some strategies and some techniques and some tactics that you can, apply into your property development journey, because the property development Facebook page, but also you can transfer into other elements of your life. Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just want to say hello to a few more people who have popped in. Mark, how you doing? Malika, Adam, and Luke. Thank you for tuning in. Simon, and just like what Tony was saying, if anyone's dealing with anything at the moment, you don't have to give full details or whichever. If there's anything that we can help with and talk through while we're both here, please feel free to type a few things in the comments and see how we can work through it. And like I said, take this opportunity to use the collective sort of brains, and I'll say beauty as well, to be able to get through. There's
no beauty on this end.
I was going to say,
so
you're the beauty that.
The beauty's on your end. It's not on mine, I can assure you. But no, take advantage. Whatever. To take advantage of the fact that we're here this is to help people, right? So there's 101 things that you and I could be doing on a Tuesday night, but we choose to do this because we want to give back to the people that are giving up their valuable time to listen to us, and we want to make this as valuable as we possibly can for all of you. So take this advantage to ask plenty of questions.
Definitely. One of the things that you brought up as well was about family and people that love you, and they may, from a place of concern, genuine concern and love, plant little things and make negative comments, not really really with the purpose of putting you down, but
no, not at all.
But with concern, and I've been through it myself, with family and all of that. I personally, even things like running marathons. I love my mother. She doesn't run. I don't run anymore, Luke, as Luke knows. But I used to do a lot of sport, and I remember her coming into my room once, and she says she won't remember it. She goes, "You're going to kill yourself." And I went, "Oh, that's interesting." But at the time, I didn't realize that, I took it as I got very, very self-defensive, and just said, you no idea, I'm doing all this training and everything else, I'm nutrition, but she, she has a different sort of approach. But then, I look back at it now, I didn't handle it so well at the time, I have to admit. And over the years, I haven't really been patient enough to actually see behind the ego and defensive sort of barrier that I put up to see that, you know, she was saying things, and I would just say she was saying things out of love. Like it was just out of, maybe she didn't quite understand what it is I was doing, but wanted to be able to protect. And that's what, you know, people that love you try to do.
Of course, but also remember that your mum was then acting on the information that she had, right? And so perhaps her mum did similar to her, right? And that's how it works. These things get passed down from generation to generation. But we now are understanding a lot more about how we can get better outcomes for ourselves, about the limiting beliefs that have come down, and we've got to challenge ourselves. We've got to take a stand, and we've got to stop it, and we've got to then, you know, head in a different direction. And you're right. I don't believe that people around you who love you are doing it deliberately, but they're doing it, right? They're doing it, and they mightn't even be aware that they're doing it, and that's their limiting belief that's bubbling to the surface. That's their insecurities that's bubbling to the surface, and they're putting that on to you, right? They're also scared of losing you. So that is, you think that we're a herd mentality, so we're in this herd, and then here's you or I or one of our viewers who is wanting to escape, and they're starting to break away from the herd, and you've got all these people back in the herd saying, don't go, you know, and they're trying to sort of hang on to your leg as you're trying to get out, and they're trying to pull you back into the herd. That's a lot of their insecurities, and they're scared of you leaving them and doing different things and going on and being successful. So it's not just about protecting you, it's also about protecting themselves. And in a lot of cases, as I said, they know no different, right? But this is also where you need to have, and not just you, I mean, all of us need to have those conversations to say, you know what, this is my life, these are my dreams, I've weighed up the risks, I'm heading down this particular path. And property development's a great example because there's far too many zeros at play in property development. It is a risky game. Let's not put our head in the sand and think that it's not. It is, right? And so there's been plenty of people who have gone belly up through property development, but that doesn't mean that everybody goes up through belly up through property development. But yes, there have been. But there's also been plenty of people who have been successful in property development. And so you can make a real success of property development, but a lot of people will focus on the negative stories. Why? Because they watch the 6 o'clock news, right? And so what's the 6 o'clock news based on? It's based on fear. It's based on negativity. You know, so these are the things that if all you're watching is the information on property development that comes on the 6 o'clock news, then no wonder you've got such a negative disposition towards all this stuff.
Yeah. So don't watch TV, essentially.
Well, I certainly don't watch the news. I mean, you know, so, and I don't watch any free-to-air TV. You know, occasionally I'll watch a movie. That's a bit of downtime for me, but from a TV point of view, won't do it because, well, A, I've got better things to do with my time, but B, particularly the news. I stopped watching the news years ago because it's so negative. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't know what's going on in the world. I mean, I just get onto news.com and have a quick scan through and go, oh, yeah, you know, Trump's doing that and North Korea's doing that and blah, 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 right? You know, so I still get a little bit of fix, but I don't sit there and read every article or watch it or, you know, because it's all about, for me, putting good stuff in. When you put good stuff in, you get good stuff out. Right? Yeah. It's really, I'm very simplistic with all these sorts of things. I talk about personal development being simple but not easy. So you put good stuff in, you're going to get good stuff out. If you go and put a whole lot of shit in, I've sworn. But if you go and put a whole lot of negative stuff in and news in and all those, we'll edit that out, then that's what you're going to get coming out. And that's what I mean, where some people who are not educated, who see a snippet of something on a news, you know, a news show about property developers going bust, and they go, oh, don't do property development because so-and-so went bust. Well, there's a gazillion reasons why someone can go bust in property development.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also so many great examples where people have been able to make a real fist of it and a real success of it, and obviously that's what keeps us going.
Awesome. That's exactly right. So Mark's asked a question around here, just to throw a bit of a curveball. and it's
Oh,
a development question. It's around,
yes.
is there a way of doing a simple feasibility using some basic standard references?
Yep.
Um,
Sure
I
is.
have
Yeah.
some.
So, yep.
I have some, but share yours.
So great. So, for example, if you want to do a 1:2 subdivision, and I'm just going to talk about the costs here in Brisbane. I don't think it'll be that dissimilar around the country, but just costs in Brisbane. If it's a splitter block, that is that it's on two titles on the one lot. Sorry, one title on two lots. Then that is about 80K. So it's about 80K in costs. If it's a splitter, then it's about 120K. So how would I do it? I would become an area expert in my end product, which is 400 square metres of land. Just say, for example, that a 400 square metre block of land in the suburb of my choosing is $500,000 as a sale price. I've got two of them, remember, because I'm creating two of them. So that's $1 million in gross sales. That is, I cannot earn any more than that. And then I simply bring back off that what I want to make. So what's Robert Kiyosaki say? Pay yourself first. So what do I want to make? So you say I might want to make 80 grand, 100 grand. So let's just do round numbers here. So let's say I want to make 100 grand. So it's 1 million bucks is 2 times 500,000. I want to pay myself 100. I'm down to 900,000 now, and it's going to cost me. It might be a subdivision. It's going to cost me $120,000. I take that off the 900. That brings me back to 780. Right, so then from a purchasing point of view, just on the back of the coaster, in order for me to buy that property, I need to be buying that property at 780. Yeah, sure, there's GST and all sorts of other stuff. So before you go and put all that stuff into the comments, I get it, I know it, but I'm more just giving you a bit of a rough example of this is the sort of things that you can do, and that's why it's important to become an area expert. So the whole idea of becoming an area expert is to be able to take a property off the market quick. And you do that because you know your sale price. You know what you're trying to create. So if you're doing a subdivision to create land, then you know what you're creating. You know that in your suburb there's going to be sub-suburbs. So what do I mean by that? That is that over on that side it's going to be $500,000 a lot, but over on this side it might be 480, and back over here it's going to be 470, and near this main road it's 450. Right. So you know the minute that it becomes available, you've got your good relationship with your agents, or you've been sending out your letters, you've been doing all your proactive approaches, something comes up and you go, bang, that's where it is. I know that that is going to be 450 a lot. That's 900,000 gross sales. Take off my profit, take off my costs, bang, that's the offer that I'm going to make. Okay, now that's in 2 seconds. That's just at the offer stage. So the thing about the offer stage is you want to be at about 80%. 80% is fine, right, at offer stage. When you get under due diligence, that's very different, right? You need to be laser focused, and you need to be wanting to understand as many of those costs as you humanly can, right? But at offer stage, it's all about getting the property off the market, so then you can spend more time getting quotes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone's going to have a bit of a different way as to how they come up with their quick 10-second feasibility. And you're right, because it's different strategies will have different numbers behind it. And you know, if you're talking about a subdivision, if you've got contributions in different parts of the state, you know, let alone councils will have different statutory fees and things like that. But you can be able to look at a feasibility that you've done previously, a full feasibility that you've done previously, and break it up into sections to go, all right, this is my GRV, and you know, take away 10%. If you create a spreadsheet that then allows you to plug in high level numbers and it spits out a high level figure, which you sort of go has a little bit of buffer, you know, if it's a 20% margin that you want, plug it in as 25, because there's definitely going to be costs that you haven't factored into it. But if it falls within that, you sort of go, all right, well, I'm going to spend more time drilling further into the project, and like you said, then it's the remainder of the 20%. Mark asked if there's standard references that exist for doing a slab and Sparky. I don't necessarily go to that level of detail. Obviously, project manager and they're the ones
So what I
that,
can say is I know, yeah, so I know that Rob sells a quick Fiso product. So that's a spreadsheet that's got a whole lot of costs. You put in there where you are from the state, which state you live in. It applies to different stamp duties. It's got some, general costs. It's a really good guide. So that's something that he sells. And you can go onto his website and have a look at that. But this is also through experience, Mark. So that is ask people, right? So the more people that you speak to, again, this is a great forum. Get onto these sorts of forums and say, hey, I'm looking to do something in, it might be Sunshine Coast or wherever you are. Someone give me, the names of some people, or can someone give me, has someone done this particular thing before? So someone done a cul-de-sac before, or someone done a, whatever it might be, has someone got some rough costings? And then it's about just putting it all into the pot, trying to come up with an average. Again, remember that it's about speed until the property is off the market. Then it's about slow down. So where people fall short in so many reasons, in so many ways. But one is that they fall short because they overanalyze things before it's off the market, and they try and be perfectionistic about it. And then they go and put an offer in because they've spent all this time, days and days and days, getting all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. They go and put the offer in, and the agent says, oh, look, sorry, that was gone 2 days ago. Right? So it's about speed. Speed, get it off the market, then slow right down and get laser focused with all of your various costings. The other thing, if I take a step back before you put your Fiso in, Mark, for what we talk about is one strategy, particularly when you're starting out, one strategy, one council, 3 suburbs. So one strategy, choose a strategy. There's a myriad of different strategies. They all work. They don't all work in the same suburb, and they don't all work in the same suburb at the same time, but they all can work, right? So whether it be a duplex, whether it be a townhouse, whether it be a small lot land subdivision, a large lot land subdivision, whether you go through and build, houses, whatever it might be, pick your strategy, pick one council. That is, you just need to know one set of town planning rules, because all the councils have slight variations. So you talked before, Cheryl, about the various costings, right? So if you're in one council, you know those costs and you know them inside out. If you're struggling to understand the town plan, reach out to a town planner. A lot of town planners will provide you with advice for free initially, with the hope that you will use their services. So what's the worst thing you can do is you can ask them a question, and they can always say, no, pay me some money. And if they charge you, well, you know what? Sometimes that amount of time you might pay for an hour or two, and that might cost you a few $100s or whatever their hourly rate is. But that can save you an enormous amount of time. If you can walk out with a bit of a cheat sheet, well, I would potentially encourage you to do that. So it's one strategy, one council, and then 3 suburbs. And in order to find the suburbs, there is a complex process that we go through to find the right suburb strategy to fit the budget, to fit the but it's 1, 1, and 3. And that again helps you be laser focused. I talked before about the area expert side of things. You want to be able to know how much things are going to sell for, and you want to be able to know like that.
Yeah.
And you want to do it because you want to be quick.
Sorry to interrupt.
You got to be quick. No, you're right. You got to be quick.
And then you can look at a site and basically say, oh, how much is it? How much are they wanting? And you can calculate in your mind really quickly and go, oh, it's 10, 20 grand above what would usually be feasible on my 5-second rule type thing. You could say, well, generally I only want to purchase something for 50,000 a site, whatever it might be, whatever that number might be. And then something comes back and the agent's brought you something that's 70,000 a site, and you go, nah, not too expensive, move on to the next one. And I mean, just be mindful,
or put an offer in at 50,000. Don't just move on to the next one. So put that low offer in, build that muscle, right? So one of the things is people are fearful of putting a low offer in because they're fearful of what's going to come back at them over the phone or directly from that agent. Put some low offers in, build a bit of character, build a bit of resilience. We talked, the whole idea of this tonight was all around what happens when the beep hits the fan, but build a bit of resilience and put some low offers in. I guarantee you it's character building.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And what's the worst they could say? No. Or they come back with a counter offer that
Maybe
opens
you
up,
don't. Maybe that's
and then
right.
it
You
opens
don't
up,
know.
yeah, yeah. Mark said, I agree with everything you say. That's good. Is that me or is that? My issue is rather specific in that I have prospects asking from all over the country turnkey quotes. Okay, because Mark's in the building. He's a builder.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's going to be, oh, that's going to be interesting. That I reckon that's going to be something that you have to sit down. Well, from your build site, you probably know what those costs are, and then for you to come up with the turnkey quotes, you're going to have to cater them accordingly to, like I said, the council and things like that. So that might be a little
Well, you
bit
got to deal with different
tricky. And the
contractors,
trades, yes, exactly.
different contractors, and depends on supply and demand as well. So if there's high supply, low demand, then you can get a good price. If there's high demand and low supply, then obviously a contractor is going to charge a lot more. So there's all sorts of things that go into that, and market's going to be challenging when you go around the whole country. But with that being the case, it's possible to sort it out. You just need to think of the ways that you can be resourceful and get it sorted. But I mean, you would have your base costings for close to home, which things would cost. Perhaps you put in there a bit of a fat factor, a buffer. That could be one way to do it. Obviously, the whole land side of things, you need to know. So whilst you know what your build cost is, or roughly what your build cost is, you've got to put it somewhere, right? So then it's about the land costs, and it's also about letting people know that you'll come back to them within a certain time. Perhaps there's some people in this community that may be in a city or a suburb that you've had someone reach out and say, hey, can you build me something in I don't know, Western Sydney, and you're in Queensland, Mark, then reach out to some of the Sydney siders, and I'm sure that they would either A, be happy to help, or B, put you in the right direction. Of course, you can always call local real estate agents, get an idea of what things are selling for, get onto Price Finder. There's plenty of ways that you can establish the pricing. Again, it's a little more complex, but it's possible.
Yeah, and I know dealing with the project home builders, they'll often ask for a bit of a fee to be able to give you. You've got your high level, they'll give you the high level quote, but until they've done the testing, the surveys, and to get a real good idea, soil test, what sort of cut and fill we might have to consider. I think, if you're not already potentially looking at doing a fee for that, because that's quite a bit of work involved. I mean, give a range to be able to say, this is a quote. However, we need to do this, this, and this, and this to be able to come up with a more succinct and a more accurate sort of turnkey quote for what it is that you're looking for. So, work with them, allow them to see the value that you're bringing to them. But look at, I don't think it's unreasonable to sort of request a fee involved. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be, a few $100s or whatever. It's really just to be able to cover the cost of possibly your time and the people and whatever contractors that you've got to send out to have a look at the site in more detail. So hope that helps, Mark. Brooke, how are you doing? Anyone else have any interesting questions? We've got about 10 minutes, Tony.
Oh, do we? My goodness, time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
Any other questions there?
Well, while we're waiting, can I give a little bit of a plug to my fundraising?
Go for it.
What was I going to say? My little fundraising thing. I'm going to give my hair a bit of a chop. So if you've noticed, I've got sort of almost Rapunzel type hair. I'm thinking like the whole Sinead O'Connor hairstyle.
A bit like mine, are you? Hey?
A bit like yours, Mark. A fee weeds out the time wasters. Thank you both. No, you're very, very welcome, and it's a good question there. And I have always wanted. I've grown my hair out for the last year or so because I've always wanted to make it long enough so that I could cut it. Ironically, grew it out so I could and donate it to charity. So there's a fantastic charity out there. And I think it's the Variety. I get confused. Variety House, and they create wigs for whether it's cancer patients, people who really need beautiful dark dark hair because
that's
black is
awesome.
in. So I'm going to be raising some money for that, for charity, and I'd love to be able to post it up and have people in the community. I know it's not property related, but it's a big part of me.
That's okay. It's a
and
big
what
part
I
of
do.
you. Absolutely.
And hopefully it'll be a big part of someone else who'll be wearing my hair in future. I said to my husband, I hope you don't go chasing around people who might be looking like they've got my hair. So,
Well, make
and
sure
I
you put
said,
the link in, Cheryl. Put the link
I will.
into the show notes. And if and I would just say to anyone who's watching that if you've got any value out of this at all, we're doing this because we love it, because we want to help people. But if you've got any value out of this at all, then I would strongly urge you to donate, help Cheryl out. It sounds like it's an amazing cause, and you know, and clearly, you know, going to people in need. So I think it's awesome. So
and
good on
I
you,
have
Cheryl.
said if I raise $5,000, I'll shave my head.
So then what I want to do, because you know I pick up on language, rather than we talk about if you do, folks watching, men, women of Australia, let's make this happen, and let's get to 5K, and let's then we'll see the Sinead O'Connor. So let's bring that on.
Yeah, well, I was, you talk about it being in the language. I sort of put it out there and go, no one's going to donate that much. And a friend of mine, she's actually bald, and she was like, did you say $5,000? Yeah, it'll be in there now. I've been checking every 5 minutes to see if it's gone in. But I would love if I could donate $5,000 plus to this amazing cause that does, you know, obviously does amazing things. So I'll put it up there. I'd love for anyone to sort of donate.
So here's the thing, Cheryl. How many members you got in this community? 2,500.
2.5.
That's $2. That's $2
each. That's nothing.
Get a gold coin.
Flip it in the tax deductible.
Flip it in the bucket. $2 each. 2,500 members. There's your $5,000. There goes your hair. Awesome.
Do it. Next week I'll film it, and I'll film it when it goes for the big chop. But if I have to go, you know what? I won't even go to the hairdresser.
Is it next week? You need to raise $5,000 in a week, do you? Is that right? Or when do we need to raise this? That's easy.
That's easy. There's a whole lot of funders on the page, aren't there? There's a whole lot of funders on the page talking millions of dollars. I'm sure $5,000's nothing.
Fantastic.
Oh, John, that's amazing, Cheryl. Fung, I'm writing to fight kids' cancer next month. You should join me. I would love to, Fung. But where are you doing it? Aren't you down in Adelaide? Isn't Fung in Adelaide? I think you are.
She is. She's down there in South Australia. Yep.
I used to do a lot of writing. The only writing I do now is to to my daughter's school and back. But I love it. I love writing.
You'll be incredibly aerodynamic without any hair causing wind resistance, Cheryl, won't you? Yes. So even though you've still got to wear your helmet, you won't have any hair flapping around behind you because it'll all be shaved off. So you'll be cutting through that wind very easily.
Luke Moroney, watch out. You know, I think we should do a time trial, a 5K time trial with hair and without hair. How do we sponsor you, Mark? I love it. I'm going to put the link to
link will go in the notes.
In the notes, it'll go on the top of the description thing, and I'll post it up to the rest of the page as well. If anyone would like to donate and support me, when I get to $5,000, I will shave it off. My husband is petrified.
What's the time frame? When do we need to do this by? So what's the date that we've got?
Next week.
$5,000 by this time next week.
But by this time next week, I'm giving it the chop. I'm a little bit scared.
So exciting. So next week we're going to be shaving your hair off. Yeah. This is so exciting.
Yes. Could I get someone
This is live. We need to have someone come over to your place, or you need to go somewhere centrally next week. This is live television at its best. This is so exciting.
Yes. Yeah, $5,000. It's $75 at the moment because I haven't really pushed it out there because I've, like I said, the mindset.
I reckon we're giving it a red hot crack now, aren't we? So
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. If there's over when there's $5,000, you know, I'll fly you down, Tony. Tony? Tuesday night we'll do a Facebook Live of you shaving my
Oh, even better. If I'm involved, even better.
That'd be amazing.
Fantastic. I love it. That's
All
exciting.
right.
Very good. Is there
So
any
yeah.
more commentary or any more questions of us, Cheryl?
No, everyone's a bit
No
quiet
questions
today.
tonight. Oh,
What is
okay.
this?
Oh,
They've hit,
everyone must have their beep together. They're all good. They've
exactly
been doing
everyone.
all the things that we've been saying in the weeks up until now, so they're all good. They're all sweet. They've got all their
Yes.
beep together.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? They can always look back at when they've lost the beep or when the beep hits the fan.
Yes.
Hopefully they're able to tune into this or even just talk to us when, when we're back on the Tuesday, just sort of go, hey guys, I'm going through this at the moment, whether it's project based, whether it's just in your career or even just personally dealing with some stuff. I mean, that's the great thing, we look at property and what we're doing really holistically. And we look at it
correct.
from a community point of view to just say, it's not just, you're not just doing this and you're not in this journey on your own. We're all in this together.
We are, and we also focus a lot on the mindset as we've discussed, because that's the reason that people aren't successful in property development, is because the inability to take action. And that's why we do it. So if you're wondering, well, why don't you talk about how to do property development specifically? Well, quite frankly, there's a whole range of websites, courses, all those sorts of things that take you through that. We can add little sprinkles here and there, but the reality is that the biggest reason that you aren't successful in property development is because of that. It's because the stories that you tell yourself, your inability to take a whole lot of action. Speaking of that, my turn for a plug. This Saturday, Sunday, I'm in Melbourne, Psychology of Property Development. We do it all again. Melburnians, come on out in your droves. We're going to be shaking the tin for Cheryl's hair shaving. But come on out in your droves. We're somewhere in the city. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. In the city, Saturday, Sunday, 2 full days. Psychology of Property Development. If you're struggling from a mindset point of view in property development, in property generally, in business, in life, wherever, get out to Melbourne CBD. Come and say hello to me. Rob will be there, and we look forward to helping you move forward in whatever direction you want to go. And we've had plenty of people come onto that program and have started off thinking they want to be property developers and have left wanting to do something else. And that's awesome. We just want people to find whatever that direction is for them and go after that. And I'll go back to the saying I said about half an hour ago, which is, may your shoes always follow your heart. So if you discover that your heart is pulling you in a different direction, that's awesome. Chase that.
Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend anyone, whether it's property or not, because there was so much that I took away from that applied to so many facets. And like I said, it was really diving into your purpose, your why, and if what you're doing is really, and he said, if it's not property, I love that there's no push there from you or Rob as to what people take away from it as to whether they're part of a course or whatever it is. It was very much, this is it. This is a weekend with us, and it's a full-on weekend, but there's so much gold in it. So I highly recommend, if you're in Melbourne, block out the weekend, because it would be highly, highly valuable.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that, and we're looking forward to it. We love delivering it, and Rob's working very hard to build a community down there in Melbourne, and he's doing a great job at it. And I was fortunate enough to be there last month, and I'm hoping to see some familiar faces again this month. So that's a bit of a plug for me. Whilst I was doing that plug, any more questions, Cheryl, for us?
No.
Anything else come on?
No, Sean, I've got some people going, how do I sponsor you? Thanks, Mark. I'll pop it in the comments.
That's it. 5,000, five big
grand,
ones. We're coming.
Goodness, I'm not asking for 5 mil here. I will next time, but not today. But we've got hundreds of funders on the page, so really 5 grand would be easy. Maybe I should raise the stakes. Maybe put it 10 grand next time.
Done. It's done. 5 grand done. The hair's going.
5 grand.
That's easy.
Excellent. I'm gonna have to get
exciting.
some good We're gonna get some good headwear. Some cool hats.
Just pull your hair back. Can we just start to visualize this? Just pull your hair back for me. Just sort of do this, Cheryl, just so that we can start to visualize what this is going to look like.
I don't know if I've got a good head. Well, this is
exciting, right? This is what it's good. There you go. Fantastic. Bring that on.
That's not too
Excellent.
bad.
Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday. It's all happening.
Thank you.
We need to
I'm
get
looking forward to it.
someone over there. I'm sure some of the Sydney siders can come on over. You can have a real celebration. There's a whole list of them down there. You can have a real celebration next Tuesday night by removing your hair. But like you said, it's for an amazing cause.
It's for a great cause, and if everyone wants to volunteer to be the head shaver upper, I have a feeling.
Well, I can think of a cast of thousands down there. I'm not going to say any names, but you know who you are, and they'll be lining up. So this is exciting.
To have a bit of a shave. Awesome. That will be really cool. I would absolutely love it. Love it.
Righto. Anything else, Cheryl? Got anyone else asking questions?
No.
Actually, one last thing is even though people aren't asking questions tonight, give us your thoughts about future weeks. We want to know more topics.
Yes.
We'll deliver you whatever you ask for. We can flex, talk about a whole range of things. We're keen to serve you, deliver you what you want. So just let us know.
Awesome. John says he's got his clippers at the ready. John, I reckon you need your clippers for yourself. I saw your hair today.
Okay. Okay.
Some things that are happening as well on the Property Development Australia page. We're looking at putting some probably little webinars around some of the questions that people were looking for in terms of feasibilities.
That was the poll that you did, right?
The poll that we did.
Cool. That was a great idea. Well done.
Yeah. So putting together some I guess some experts in the space about the funding, how people understand a little bit more about finance. I think there are a few really interesting. I mean, everyone wants to obviously know about feasibility, so I'm really excited. We'll probably deliver that as a sort of webinar so that people can we've got a longer time. People can actually ask questions. Either type them in or interact. So that's happening at the moment. And then we'll be rolling out a few others as well. So to be able to just create a whole lot more value in what it is that we're doing here.
It's exciting. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your audience. So that's a wonderful service, more value added, and with all that value added, that's got to be worth some donations. It's got to be worth. It's got to be worth getting rid of the hair next Tuesday.
Definitely.
Terrific.
So awesome.
Very good.
Thank you, Tony.
Hey, thank you. I love it.
Can't wait.
Too. Yeah.
Can't wait to have a chat with you again next week, but I'm sure we'll sort of give each
do
other
it again.
a little bit of check in.
Correct.
Alrighty.
Absolutely. No, it sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.